Trump is taking a massive swing at John Deere, and with a one bold threat, he's shifted the trajectory of John Deere and shaken up American manufacturing.
Just notifying John Deere right now, if you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
Now that he has become the 47th president, it is like a war between them, and John Deere's decisions have set off some serious alarms for folks who rely on their machinery like farmers. But what does that mean for you and me? How will this affect our economy? And what's Trump planning next? What's happening? Well, former President Donald Trump has thrown down the gauntlet with a jaw-dropping threat, a potential 200% tariff on John Deere. Yes, you heard that right. And the implications of this announcement, delivered during a farm policy roundtable in the quaint town of Smithton, Pennsylvania, are nothing short of monumental. President Donald Trump has never been afraid of making such aggressive trade policy proposals that seem to always hit the spotlight. Just imagine the farmers and workers who rely on John Deere's machinery, the uncertainty they're now grappling with. So why is he making this bold move? Well, although this might be risky, it is almost necessary because John Deere has been recently making headlines for all the right and wrong reasons. So let's break this whole thing down into two main issues, starting with right to repair. The right to repair movement has emerged as pivotal topics in conversations surrounding John Deere. If you've ever tried fixing your own gadget or appliance, you might have found it frustrating to be unable to get past certain software barriers. This is exactly what's sparking outrage within the farming community, particularly involving John Deere. The right to repair movement champions consumers' rights to repair their own devices without interference from manufacturers. In the case of John Deere, this movement has really taken off because the company has implemented software locks on their agricultural equipment. These pesky locks not only prevent farmers from accessing crucial diagnostic tools, but also deny them the software needed to efficiently repair their own machinery. This results in a real headache for farmers who are increasingly finding themselves dependent on authorized dealerships when their machines falter, a process that can be both pricey and time-consuming. Now imagine you're in the middle of a vital planting season, one of those moments when every hour counts. You suddenly discover that your tractor has broken down and you're left twiddling your thumbs because you can't simply fix it yourself. It's no wonder farmers are raising the alarm and expressing significant frustration over these repair restrictions. Many farmers feel that John Deere's policies encroach unjustly on their ownership rights. Not being able to tackle repairs independently not only inflates their operational costs, but it can also lead to stubborn downtimes during those all-important planting and harvesting windows. The entire situation becomes more convoluted with a reliance on authorized dealers, an arrangement that can turn into a bottleneck where farmers find themselves waiting for repair appointments, adding another layer of financial strain to their already burdened shoulders. This isn't simply an inconvenience. It raises legal and ethical concerns that ripple through the fabric of agricultural practice. The legal landscape related to the right to repair is in flux. Some states are piecing together legislation meant to safeguard consumers' rights to repair their own equipment. But hey, it's not all straightforward. John Deere has been pushing back against these efforts, insisting that limiting access to repair tools is essential for safety and adherence to environmental regulations. This line of reasoning has ignited lively debates about corporate responsibility versus consumer rights, leading us to grapple with ethical dilemmas regarding the delicate balance between innovation and profit, alongside farmers' autonomy to manage their machinery as they see fit. But let's not overlook the broader implications of the right to repair movement on agriculture itself. It goes far beyond just individual grievances impacting specific farmers. As agriculture steadily integrates more sophisticated technologies, the ability for farmers to maintain and repair their own equipment plays an increasingly vital role in sustaining overall productivity. Think about it. If manufacturers like John Deere tighten their grip with restrictive practices, we're not just putting farmers in a bind. We're jeopardizing the efficiency and innovation within the agricultural sector overall. A decline in farmers' ability to conduct independent repairs could pose significant risks to agricultural operations, leading to decreased yields and productivity. To many farmers, this feels like being betrayed. They have been loyal customers and now they feel like they are being exploited. But framers are not the only victims here. In fact, the United Auto Workers Union has been against odds with John Deere, which brings us to the second reason behind Trump's bold move. Outsourcing manufacturing. The decision by John Deere to outsource manufacturing jobs has created quite a stir, particularly in tandem with the already heated discussions surrounding the right to repair movement. This multinational corporation recently revealed its intentions to shift a significant chunk of its production operations from the United States to Mexico, and the gamble is raising eyebrows across the board. So what's behind this bold move? There are several driving factors at play here, including the ever-increasing operational costs in the U.S., a downturn in demand for specific products, and the undeniable pressure to stay competitive on a global scale. When we talk about the economic impact of outsourcing, we're not merely addressing numbers on a balance sheet. We're looking at real lives that stand to be affected. John Deere's decision has not gone unnoticed. Massive layoffs impacting over 600 workers at their Illinois and Iowa plants have cast a gloomy shadow over the affected communities. Facilities in East Moline, Davenport, and Dubuque have taken the hardest hits, with many families left scrambling to recover from sudden job losses. It's not just those directly impacted who feel the sting. Local businesses, think coffee shops, diners, and hardware stores, count on a steady stream of employees from these plants. When those workers are laid off, it creates a domino effect. Reduced revenue for local businesses can, unfortunately, lead to even further job losses. But let's zoom out a bit. We can't ignore the broader implications of this move. The trend of outsourcing manufacturing jobs raises some serious concerns about the long-term health of American manufacturing as we know it. As companies increasingly prioritize cutting costs by moving production overseas, there's a palpable fear bubbling up across various industries. If this trend continues, it threatens to dismantle not just individual livelihoods, but potentially entire economic ecosystems across the country. Shifting gears a bit, let's dive into the criticism leveled at John Deere. Many allege that this decision is indicative of a larger issue: corporate greed. The United Auto Workers Union has been vocally opposed to the layoffs, labeling them reckless and downright insulting to American workers struggling to make ends meet. The irony here is striking. Despite a projected profit of $7 billion for the year, John Deere is still pursuing cheaper labor options by cutting jobs at home. How does one reconcile the glaring dissonance between robust corporate earnings and the undermining of worker welfare? It's a complex dilemma that raises important questions about accountability in corporate governance and the responsibilities that come with it. The reckoning of American agriculture. When you first hear that a former president is proposing a jaw-dropping 200% tariff on John Deere imports, you might think, wait, what? How does that even work? But Trump's plan is not just a casual suggestion. It's a bold move intended to shake up business practices across the globe. His goals are as ambitious as they are multifaceted. First and foremost, he wants to put the brakes on American companies fleeing the country for cheaper labor, like a kid running off to join the circus. His hope is that this tariff will create a strong disincentive for corporations to cut and run, incentivizing them instead to either retain their operations within the U.S. or bring jobs back home. It's a move that's designed to bolster American manufacturing jobs while potentially adding a bit of revenue to the U.S. Treasury. It's like wearing your patriotism on your sleeve while trying to fill the coffers. A bold call indeed. Now let's talk about the immediate fallout for John Deere. Just a whisper of this tariff sent the company's stock price tumbling by about 1.6% in after-hours trading. Investors are clearly holding their breath, not knowing if this proposal will come to fruition or if it's just another political fanfare. But whether or not the tariff becomes a reality, the mere announcement presents a mountain of challenges for John Deere as it reevaluates its supply chains. The company's current manufacturing operations are delicately intertwined in a global system that's stitching together costs, logistics, and labor markets from around the world. So, what does it mean for John Deere? If they decide to comply with Trump's requests and halt production in Mexico, it could entail extensive logistical overhauls. Repatriating jobs back to the U.S. might be the patriotic thing to do, but the costs associated with reestablishing operations, training employees, and ensuring that production timelines remain intact can be monumental. Suddenly, the allure of the lower costs in Mexico might not seem so appealing anymore. Let's not forget that Trump's idea of bringing jobs back home sounds nice and cozy, but the practicality of such a shift raises a boatload of questions. The feasibility remains unclear considering the time-tested global supply chains that form the backbone of today's manufacturing environments. Companies like John Deere are already settled into their operational rhythms. Think intricate networks of suppliers, established employee training programs, logistical frameworks. The list goes on. The reality is that these global supply chains do not just operate in silos. They are interlaced with numerous other factors. If John Deere has to pull back its operations from Mexico, the repercussions won't be limited to just the tractor manufacturer. The suppliers, part manufacturers, and logistics providers that have grown alongside John Deere's operations are all part of this dance, and a sudden shift can throw off the beat for everyone involved. Look at this from another angle. Even if John Deere ultimately finds a way to bring some manufacturing back to the U.S., the question of whether the price of their products will remain competitive looms large. If their production costs elevate due to labor expenses and regulations, concerns which Trump is trying to counteract with tariffs, the price tag on their machinery might send farmers and businesses running elsewhere. No tractor, after all, is worth a mortgage these days. Moreover, let's not kid ourselves. The industry is in a turbulent place. The race for efficiency and cost-effectiveness has driven many companies to scour the globe for the best places to do business. From electronics to automobiles to agricultural machinery, competition is fierce. Trump's strategy, while aimed at pulling American manufacturing back on shore, could inadvertently create hurdles that make products more expensive for consumers. And guess what? When costs go up, guess who gets stuck with the bill? The very Americans he's aiming to protect. And what does this mean for farming and agriculture industry? Let's dissect it together. Short-term impacts. American farmers are often viewed as the backbone of the country's food supply, and their relationship with manufacturers like John Deere is crucial. So when we start talking about the potential impacts of a 200% tariff on equipment and parts from Mexico, it's time to take a closer look at what that really means for the men and women who work tirelessly to feed us all. It's not just a matter of numbers and policies, it's about livelihoods, communities, and the future of agriculture in the United States. Let's break this down. First off, the sheer magnitude of that 200% tariff could wreak havoc on farmers' budgets, instantly inflating the cost of new equipment. Imagine walking into your local farm supply store to find that a crucial piece of machinery you depend on now costs not just more, but 3 times as much. For many farmers, especially those running small to medium-sized operations, purchasing essential machinery could become an impossible financial hurdle. These aren't just numbers on a balance sheet. They represent real challenges to maintaining productivity and operations on the farm. Then there's the potential for shortages. Picture this scenario. John Deere is scrambling to restructure its supply chain in response to the tariff changes, trying to figure out how to still get products into the States at a price that won't break the bank. But what happens when they can't keep up with demand? Farmers could find themselves in a precarious position, unable to access the machinery and parts essential for planting or harvesting during those critical windows in the agricultural calendar. Missing out on the right tools during the planting season could spell disaster for crop yields, impacting not just today's operations, but the future viability of farms across the country. And let's not overlook the impact on productivity and profitability. With higher equipment costs and rising chances of shortages, many farmers might find themselves putting off necessary upgrades and repairs. When your equipment is outdated, there's no denying that your operations may become less efficient. You simply can't produce at a competitive rate. As crop yields drop, profitability takes a hit. And suddenly, farmers are not just dealing with financial pain. They're grappling with the long-term sustainability of their livelihoods. Long-term impacts. Let's talk about the competitiveness of American farmers in the global market. Facing significantly higher equipment costs could put U.S. farmers at a disadvantage compared to their international counterparts, who might have access to cheaper machinery. Imagine trying to sell your corn to a foreign market, but knowing your costs are significantly higher because you had to pay through the nose for the equipment. It could result in U.S. agricultural products losing their market share, which is a harsh reality that farmers may have to face. Continuing down this rabbit hole leads us straight to the possibility of retaliatory tariffs. Countries that feel the sting of U.S. tariffs, particularly Mexico, might strike back, imposing their own tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports. This isn't just a theory, it has happened before during previous trade disputes, leading to billions in lost exports for American farmers. Can you imagine the frustration of pouring your heart and soul into producing quality goods, only to have them sit unsold because of trade war shenanigans? The ripple effects of these potential outcomes don't just stop at farm profitability. Many rural economies are heavily dependent on agriculture as a primary source of income and employment. If farmers are pinched by rising equipment costs and the market challenges that follow, the economic health of entire communities is at stake. Local businesses that thrive on supplying goods to farmers will feel the backlash, leading to job losses and further strain on the rural economy. This can impact everything from already fragile local businesses to property values, leaving a trail of economic uncertainty. As we consider these short and long-term effects, it's clear that this proposed tariff extends far beyond a simple business transaction. It reaches into the very heart of rural America, touching families, local economies, and the agricultural sector as a whole. Farming isn't just a job, it's a way of life for so many people. If the market shifts under their feet due to tariffs, it risks uprooting generations of hard work and commitment to the land. Political ramification. Rural voter support has been a cornerstone of Trump's base. He's enjoyed a solid backing from voters living in those sprawling farmlands. But here's the kicker. If this tariff starts to hit farmers hard in their wallets, don't be surprised if that rock-solid support begins to crack. Picture it. Farmers struggling, communities losing their livelihood. It could ignite a shift in allegiances that no one saw coming. Next up are the agricultural lobby reactions, which shouldn't be overlooked. We're talking about influential players like the National Corn Growers Association and the American Soybean Association. These groups are sounding the alarm, warning against the revival of trade wars. Why? Because the potential damage to U.S. agricultural markets could be catastrophic. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about people's lives, stability, and food supply. If these voices unite in opposition, it could create a deafening chorus that policymakers can't ignore. And let's not forget the legislative battles looming on the horizon. The proposed tariff faces a rocky road ahead. Many Republican lawmakers, a few big names among them, are already voicing their skepticism toward Trump's grander tariff agenda. It's not just a whisper, it's a clear indication of hesitation within his own ranks. With such a divided front, the proposed measures could struggle to gain traction, highlighting a growing rift that could weaken his standing. The political ramifications surrounding this proposed tariff are anything but straightforward. Supporters could turn into opponents as the economic realities hit home. Powerful lobbies are gearing up for a fight, and internal party dynamics are creating fissures that may well reshape the political landscape. The stakes are high, and the unfolding drama will be nothing short of fascinating to watch. Keep your eyes peeled. Things are about to get very interesting.